This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Packed Friday show because it is draft day in the National Hockey League. And there are all sorts of rumblings, rumors about potential moves of the Winnipeg Jets involving their MVP goaltender, Connor Hellebuyck. Of course, the Jets are on the clock at 8 as of right now. Could that change? Could there be another pick added? Certainly in the mix. We'll hear the latest from Elliotte Friedman, who spoke just in the last hour or so on the Fan Hockey Show. I know they cranked out a 32 Thoughts last night, but it does seem like with so many of these situations, everything is fluid. And we also heard from Chevy this morning, who, of course, is going to be the guy making the call on whether the offers for Connor Hellebuyck make sense for the Winnipeg Jets. Chevy spoke this morning. We'll have some of Chevy's comments as well. And we'll also get into last night's Bomber game, which was in some ways the tale of two halves and then the final minute of the game. I mean, the Bombers, just absolute no-show at the start. I mean, getting run over for, first of all, 2 and out. I mean, it was sort of the first play of the game was somewhat ominous with about a 9-yard sack of Zach Collaros on a broken play. And the next thing you know, boom, Edmonton's in the end zone. And then the Bombers couldn't take care of the football. Brady fumble, Daniels fumble. And, I thought the defense did a good job of limiting the damage and keeping them in the game. A late touchdown all of a sudden made it halftime going, how the heck is this team only down 9 points? But again, it was Cody Fajardo sort of breaking our hearts like he did in the Grey Cup a few years ago. And Edmonton wins 23-18. We will touch on that with Taylor Allen today, but the focus of today's show is going to be on the draft, the Winnipeg Jets. Ken Wiebe is going to join us. We'll look forward to having a conversation with Ken on what he's hearing and what he expects to happen tonight. And we can't forget about all the young men that are getting picked. Mike Morreale from NHL.com is in Buffalo and will join us at around 2:30. We're going to try to get to marbles a little earlier than we normally do today. Hacksaw's going to join us next week, and we'll get back to our normal Friday. But it is going to be a big one, gang. I'm glad you're all with us. And I can't forget Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m., it is time to see Canada in the knockout stage of the World Cup. 2 p.m. versus South Africa on Sunday afternoon. Make your plans and make sure you're in front of a TV wearing red for that. We'll touch on that as well before the end of the show. Just before we bring in Reem, welcome to everybody in chat. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. For those of you that are maybe just finding us, and it's been a very busy week, we're here every day, 1 p.m. Central, Monday to Friday, with other great programming throughout the week on our YouTube channel and podcast feed. Make sure you are subscribed both on podcast and right here on YouTube. And hit that thumbs up button if you wouldn't mind. WST is brought to you by our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating and Electrical, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Breezy Bend, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, our friends at Travel Manitoba, St. Vital Dental Center, Rolly's Transfer, Assiniboia Downs, and the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Don't forget, winnipegsportstalk.com. Get your tickets for our WST patio party at the Goldeyes game on Tuesday. We'll look forward to seeing you there. And, of course, we'll get to a why not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, what is going on? Great to see you last night. Fun day and night for us. An absolutely glorious night out of Princess Auto Stadium, with the exception of the final result.
First of all, what's going on? I got to say, my legs are a little sore. We did the bike valet, you and I and Connor and Michael from Travel Manitoba. We biked to the stadium, walked around, legs feeling, but it's feeling good, even though it was, the first half was pretty rough for the Bombers. Second half, well, they made it a game. They had the lead late and almost got it back for would have been an amazing finish. But as you said, a fantastic night out at CFL Blue Bombers game, the premier game day experience in the league. It was incredible. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, the weather was great. Unfortunately, the game not so. But here I am now on Friday, the day of round one, refreshing my X feed just over and over and over.
Gotta have notifications on today.
Yeah, like we just had some signings. There's some trades. I said the Avalanche re-signed Brett Kulak for 5 years, 4.5. Couldn't the Oilers have used that guy? And Brent Burns re-signed as well. Some other minor trades happening. I did see Cam Robinson tweet out like 20 minutes ago, Huss, from Elite Prospects. Sounds like the Sabres have something coming here. I don't know what that means, but we're just on pins and needles. Everyone, like we're at the Bomber game. I could hear conversations all around me about Hellebuyck. I know people are coming up to you, asking you, because I couldn't walk 2 feet with you at the game without people coming up to you.
It was fun. I mean, I'm always down there and seeing people at the games, and I mean, it's so great to see the reception we get for the content at Winnipeg Sports Talk. But I mean, especially when we did that lap through the North End, great to see so many young people dialed in on what we're doing, but so dialed in on the Jets. And yeah, it was Hellebuyck getting traded. What's coming back for Hellebuyck? I mean, hey, that's been the talk of the town really for the last couple weeks. And with the trades that have already happened this week in the NHL, the expectations of the need to add and change for the Winnipeg Jets, I'm not surprised that if you're a sports fan in the city of Winnipeg, this has been the thing that's been on top of mind. And I mean, we won't have, listen, if there's a trade made tonight, we'll have conclusion of it. But all along, I and many have been saying, like, let's not just, write the eulogy for Hellebuyck's time with the Jets just yet, because we all know that Kevin Cheveldayoff will drive a hard bargain, and they will be patient and they will wait to get their price, because Connor Hellebuyck's got 5 years left as a Winnipeg Jet. And if they don't get their price, they'll be more than happy, I'm sure, to have him back. The question is, how happy will Hellebuyck be back? It will be if he is back. And that was a big topic. Our local media today trying to get clarity on, has an official trade request been made? Lots of great attempts. No confirmation, but I think it was pretty simple based on listening to Chevy that Hellebuyck would like to be elsewhere next year, and we'll see whether that happens tonight. Listen, Elliot Friedman's the number one insider in the game. There was a new edition of 32 Thoughts last night, but he was on in the last hour or so on the Fan Hockey Show, or I guess right before I was on Lock Shop. So in the last 90 minutes or so. So what we figured, before we kind of get into what Chevy had to say, let's hear. This is Fried from the Fan Hockey Show earlier, as I say, late morning, on what he's hearing in regards to the Jets and the Hellebuyck situation.
Look, you have to give out quality to get quality.
Of course.
There's no question.
Of course.
Yeah.
But do you think that I know you mentioned Kevin Cheveldayoff's not going to be bullied here, but do you think there are other teams that might be in the mix aside from, like, Carolina, and we've heard Florida is out there? Like, was it Anaheim that you had mentioned as well?
Yeah, I kind of wondered about them, but they have a really good young goalie. But they were a team that could make a trade if I looked at but the thing is now, if McTavish is going somewhere else, I'm not so sure, right? Because again, Cheveldayoff said this morning, what's their biggest need? A 2C. So So, like, if you were to tell me that
it becomes goalie if you move Connor Hellebuck, but
yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I looked at it like again, like another team that kind of like fit to me, but I'm not sure. Like, they have a good goalie is Utah. Like, but the thing is, like I said, I think Hellebuck believes like the next 3 years that's his window, right? And he's like, I need a team I believe is going to be in cup contention next 3 years. And I think the challenge for teams like San Jose, like, are you kidding me? Like, I would love to play with that guy. And, you know, like but do you look at their roster and say they're a guaranteed contender for the next 3 years? Like, look at the superhuman season the kid had and they fell short, right? So I think, you know, like, I would take my chances with them, but I don't know if some of these guys whose window is now believes they're consistently ready yet.
All right, so there's the latest from Elliot Friedman. Speaking of Friedge, and while we were listening to that, I was going to his X feed to try to get up, and I think so many people are going to Elliot's feed right now that it took me 3 times to load it. This may be a reason because he's just reporting a trade. Owen Zellweger is being traded to Buffalo for Anton Wahlberg and the 45th pick. So one of those additional picks that Buffalo had in 45 is gone. And they get Anton Wahlberg back. I'm just pulling him up. He was a second rounder in the 23 NHL Draft. He's a center, a big one, 6'4", 205. And he's been in Roch for the last couple of years, playing in the American Hockey League. Not huge points, 30 and 38 in the last 2 years. Only scored 9 goals. And Zellweger's interesting. I mean, Zellweger was a guy that, you know, I think was pretty highly touted. I mean, certainly he had some time, or Olin, I guess it's not Owen, Olin Zellweger. Drafted very similarly, 34th overall, round 2. This was in 2021. He, of course, is a defenseman and ended up playing a regular shift, 76 games for the Ducks last year, 22 points. So sort of a minor deal on the periphery. Obviously, Byram is out. And one other interesting, notable Byron trade, Remo. I think this was from 32 Thoughts. I can't remember. I've been listening to so much stuff of where it's all coming from, but it was from Elliot. I know there was a lot of talk about what in the world was Chicago doing trading the number 4 pick. Apparently, San Jose had actually offered 2 first rounders, 9 and 27, to get Bowen Byram. So, by all accounts, there was a lot of action around the Buffalo Sabres defenseman, and that might lead more to believe why the price was what it was for Chicago to pony up and get him into the Windy City.
This trade for Anaheim is pretty interesting. They traded for John Carlson at the deadline as a defensive upgrade, and Jackson Lacombe has emerged as number 1. But, I mean, here's their D with Zellweger, and it looks, I don't know, it looks kind of thin without him. So I'm curious how they're going to.
Well, it's no Gudas.
Yes.
No Carlson. No Jacob Trouba. Like, the entire right side of their blue line
is gone. Yeah, that's
going to be on the market. I would think at least one of those guys comes back. It sounds like John Carlson wants to go back out east, so yeah. I don't think that'll be him. I think they'd be crazy not to keep Trouba around. I thought Trouba can absolutely still play. He adds a lot to the club. I think he's a good guy to have with, you know, the young players that they have in and around there. I mean, Gudas is an absolute psycho. Like, he was the captain of the Ducks too, which actually always cracked me up. But to me, I would think that they'll probably go back and try and get Trouba to stick around. Now, who knows? I mean, we know Trouba's history. Maybe he wants to be back in the East. I don't know what his wife's situation or where she's working right now, but they seem to make Anaheim work. So we'll see whether that continues. But anyways, let's get back to the Jets because Cheveldayoff did speak this morning. We'll get into the heli in a minute, but here's first off, what we do know is the Jets have the 8th pick. It's been a while since they've had a top 10 pick. Obviously, I guess Perfetti was 10, but other than that, it's been a long time. Here is Chevy on the players available when they are scheduled to pick as of right now at 8th overall.
It's been an interesting time, obviously internally with the meetings that we've had and the different discussions that that have been had. There's lots of passion, for players, in this area, and we feel like there's an opportunity to get someone that can be really impactful, for the future of the franchise. But it's interesting to see, what's going on around as well, and the different people that are talking outside, and the names that appear on various different levels, throughout that top area of the draft. So, again, I think when you're in a situation like this where you do have a high pick, you just want to be fortunate enough to have players in that area that everybody is passionate about, and that seems to be the case.
Chevy and listen, that's not, he's not telling us who he's going to pick, but I do think that we've talked so much about this group of 5 or 6 defensemen, of which some will be available for the Winnipeg Jets. The centers, Vigo Bjork, could he fall to 8? Many people think he'll be gone by the Calgary Flames at 6. There's the local product from Cypress River, Carson Carrolls. He's thought to be likely a top 5 pick. I will say this, Reman, we'll touch on this again just at the end of the show before we do marbles with the Cool Bet lines. But what was it, all week? Really for the last month, Caleb Malhotra has been solid at number 3. It seems like, they're not even taking bets on Gavin McKenna to be number 1 anymore. Stenberg, after the Eklund trade, is minus 909. So you can pretty much lock in the top 2. It gets interesting at 3. But following the money here, there's been a big move. And Caleb Malhotra now is down to plus 180. And Chase Reed, one of the top defensemen and many people's top defensemen on the list, is now at minus 238. And to me, that makes too much sense. I've said all along, and we here in Winnipeg know it more than any, the thought of a young, 19-year-old coming into the NHL, trying to prove himself and earn a spot in the locker room with his dad being a coach, the head coach, to me seems like a disaster waiting to happen, and not something that I think the coach probably doesn't want it. I'm not sure that he would want for his son. So this does make sense. That means Malhotra might be available at 4, and he's thought to be the number 1 center in this draft. So does Buffalo take him? Is that pick that potentially has been rumored to be part of maybe a Connor Hellebuck trade? Would that change the Jets, who I'm sure originally we were thinking Carson Carrolls? Would getting the top center in the draft change the way the Jets made if they got there? I guess we will see. But it certainly does look like the Malhotra thing for a long time maybe was a bit of a smokescreen Reem, and Chase Reed right now, the heavy favorite to be the 3rd overall pick.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. I do think, Huss, no matter who the Jets get at 8, they're going to get a player who is higher on their list than the spot available. A player,
couldn't believe he was there.
Couldn't believe he was there. They're going to be very thrilled to have him in the organization, and I think it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of names that we've been talking about here for a while that you'd be happy to have as part of the Winnipeg Jets. Whether it's a talented defenseman, could center Vigo Bjork fall down? We'll have to wait and see. The Jets have put out the development camp schedule they did yesterday. Off-ice testing Monday, Tuesday is on ice. I imagine whoever they get at 8 will be there, and they haven't put out a roster. I'm curious who it's going to be. I know Connor will be out there, but I think exciting to add this type of high-end talent. But be exciting to have a Manitoban in Carson Carroll's house, but it sounds like he's going to be picked before it gets to 8.
Yeah, I mean, just looking for Carroll's, the lowest number for him to be selected is plus 250 at number 5, which ironically is to the Rangers. And for a small town farm kid that wants to sort of maybe stay closer to home or more an environment like that, New York City, the Big Apple, MSG, sounds like maybe the worst fit of them all. But again, teams are going to pick the best player and then figure it out after that. The other big topic this morning, and shout out to all of our media friends that tried to get confirmation of a Hellebuyck trade request. They did their best. Ken's going to join us a little later on, but it started off, Wiebe took the mic first and asked Chevy if Helly has requested a trade.
Can you clarify if Connor Hellebuyck has asked for a trade?
Well, it's that, obviously it's that time of the year, right? It's everyone's talking about, ways to improve their team or different things like that. Certainly, as an organization, we're going to listen. Everyone saw Helly's, press conference at the end of the year. He was passionate. Certainly, in our exit meetings, we had, some frank conversations as well. But, again, what happens in those meetings will, certainly stay private. But at the end of the day, we both chose to sign a 7-year, extension. He gave up some UFA years. We had the desire to take a player into his high 30s and there's risk on both sides. So again, as an organization, it's incumbent upon me to listen. And that's, kind of what I've done up until this point.
So listen, that was a non-answer. I wouldn't expect him to. There's no benefit to Cheveldayoff saying, yeah, he wants out of here. Because listen, there's a chance that this trade doesn't get done. And, at that point, I mean, you got to move forward if a trade doesn't happen. Mike came right back, number 2, and asked the same question and got a similar answer. And then, well, we have time for Rennie. We'll get to this because Rennie was actually quite humorous. But let's do 5. This is more on Cheveldayoff. Oh, just on that, I do wonder. I mean, if someone had said instead of Connor Hellebuyck, has Josh Morrissey asked for a trade? Has Mark Scheifele asked for a trade? I would imagine you would have gotten a far more clear and straight answer of a no than maybe we did for the Helly one. Anyways, here's 5. This is Chevy on being open to move Connor Hellebuyck potentially.
Well, I think, again, that would be, fair to say in the sense that, if you can fill some holes in other areas and do things a little bit differently, then I think you can try to find a way. But if if those holes and those needs aren't met, then, again, that's part of the game. I think, you hear, other situations and other, everyone talking about different guys or stuff like that. I guess everybody's got different ideas on what their teams need and what their teams want. But if a team doesn't need a certain thing, then they're not going to come shopping for it. If a team needs something, then maybe they will. But if, it's going to depend on how bad a team wants something, but we have needs as well. So again, I go back to it and say, it's incumbent upon me to listen. And so, not just on Connor, like you're always listening. It's not just about one singular person. It's about pick number 8. It's about pick number 71. Like it's whatever. In this job, there's always questions and propositions and and you're making those as well. There's outgoing calls that you're making as a manager as well to say, hey, is this opportunity available to us?
All right, so there is Chevy. Here's one more, and this is key for any trade, also for the draft, and just moving forward. This is 6, Reem. Chevy was asked simply, as of right now, heading into this evening, round 1 of the draft, what are the top priorities for the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, like certainly we've always, you're looking for, in this organization right now, you're looking for someone to step up and take the horns, bull by the horns at the second line center. I think that's, certainly something we, felt we had addressed when we had PLD, and then, obviously we had to, make some moves there. So, but, we're excited, about a Braden Yeager, and again, you talk about things, in organizations, things have to happen organically as well too. And when we traded for Yags, that gave us an opportunity to have a prospect, coming, as a centerman. He had, 1 year under his belt on pro, but, I had a conversation with Josh Morrissey, this summer or, after the season. We talked about how important it was for him after his first year pro to come play the one game, up with the Jets at the end of the year. And it gave him that confidence. It gave him that drive. It gave him that desire to know that, I can come to camp next year and make some noise. And opportunity presented itself for him when Jacob Trouba held out. And, the rest is history, so to speak. So I asked him, I said, relay that story to a guy like Braden Yeager and talk about, the summer that you put in to make sure that, when your opportunity was there, you took it.
All right, so there is a little bit of Chevy from this morning pre-draft right now. Reem, if you can, we're doubling up on the why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray today. If you can, let's do a poll. And the poll is, will Connor Hellebuyck be a Winnipeg Jet when we go live Monday afternoon? So basically, a yes means no trade. A no means he's out of here. That's the first one. And then the other one is more draft related, focusing on the 8th pick. Who is your prediction on who the Jets are going to take at 8, assuming they make that pick? If the pick's traded or something, this will be an exercise in futility. But this is your chance to plant your flag in the ground on the live stream as to who you think is going to play. And we'll get that poll up and we'll see how people are feeling on the likelihood that Hellebuyck is still a Winnipeg Jet next week. We're going to bring in Taylor Allen for a few minutes and talk some Bombers, and then Ken's going to join us. We will have a little bit more, and we'll stay on top of all these stories in and around. By the way, I'm seeing a lot of nice comments on the lid today. Thank you, Kevin Soldier. I figured it's draft day, so I would wear a Jets hat. Who will be getting the Jets hat today? Let us know in the chat for the why not question. All right, just before we bring in Taylor, we've got to thank our friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. Great sponsors of the Bombers. Saw the Clean Line mascot for the first time last night out there. They also, of course, supporting the Winnipeg Jets, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, which we greatly appreciate. Clean Line is the most trusted plumbers in town with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. They also do heating and electrical services. You can schedule an appointment online at cleanline.ca, but don't forget the number 204-500-2001. When you're in a jam, Clean Line's got you covered 24/7, 365. For all of your emergency plumbing needs over at Clean Line. Another great partner of the Bombers is Manitoba Battery. Saw the Bombers rolling out, being introduced last night through that Manitoba Battery branded tunnel. Manitoba Battery is powering the Bombers this year and powering WSTers through their summer with the best prices in batteries, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores for everything powering your summer. You need batteries for a dirt bike, a scooter, an ATV, a golf cart, a boat, an RV, you name it, Manitoba Battery has it with the best in customer service, delivery services anywhere inside the perimeter, and 2 convenient locations to serve you on Logan Avenue and Dovercourt Drive. For all your battery needs, shop local, save money, and get the best in customer service at Manitoba Battery. And hey, if you've got a move planned this summer, you know who to call. Our friends at Rolly's Transfer, family owned and operated for over 60 years here in Manitoba and the most trusted name in moving services. Head on over to their website at rollies.com. Find out all the information on their services, what they do, their history. But in the top right corner, you can click on request an estimate. If you've got a move coming up, do that. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount for WST listeners and viewers on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all of your moving needs, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today or request an estimate over at rollies.com. We will get back to the Jets and the draft in a few minutes, but we got to get to this football game last night. Bombers 1-2 after the Elks avoid a disastrous folding in the second half. And Cody Fajardo doing to the Bombers what he did in the Grey Cup a few years ago, authoring a big late drive for a win. Taylor Allen joins us from the Winnipeg Free Press. Taylor, great to have you back on the program. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay, Huss, but I gotta be honest, I feel kind of dumb today because going into last night, I would have bet the house that the Bombers, coming off a bye, coming off a tough loss to Hamilton, that they would have been roaring to go, looking much better, and yet they looked like they were half asleep for that first half. So I don't feel too smart right now. I'll just say that.
Well, you and many of us, I did think this was going to be a real tough game, and I've kind of been high on Edmonton since the start of the year. I give all my buddies at Edmonton Sports Talk a hard time, and I had to do it today again because I was more in on the Elks than any of they were at the start of the season, and now all of a sudden the team's 3-0 and they're feeling pretty good about it. But I'm with you. The Bombers had a pretty embarrassing defensive performance in their home opener. They get a bye. This team's been consistently good at bouncing back, especially after bye weeks. And they simply didn't show up ready to play in the first half. The first offensive play was a disaster. That led to a 2-and-out. Edmonton gets the ball, goes all the way down the field, puts it in the end zone. And all of a sudden, the game had barely started and they've spotted them a touchdown. And then it got worse. The ball control was atrocious. Brady Oliveira, Daniels putting it on the ground. They were incredibly fortunate that the defense was able to hold to a field goal and then obviously on the goal line, although they ended up giving it back and it ended up going in. And then a touchdown right at the end. I was talking to people at halftime and we're like, how is this a game right now? Because it really didn't seem like it was. And then they came out and looked a lot more competitive in the second half. But because of what they'd done in the first half, that game was there for the taking for Cody Fajardo, and he took it. How do you explain the way the Bombers looked early on in that football game?
Well, I don't think even the Bombers can explain because it's pretty mind-boggling, honestly. And the talk all week was slowing down Justin Rankin, who's arguably the MOP after three games, if there was one. And yet his very first touch of the game, he scampers down for 29 yards like it was nothing. It's like, are you kidding me? You guys know this is their whole offense. So this is the guy you got to slow down on. And his very first touch of the game, he runs for 29 yards. And then their first three plays, Edmonton gets 68 yards. And yeah, like you said, they just march down the field like nothing, easily go up 7-0. And then the Bombers get the ball back and, they're marching a little bit. Then Brady Oliveira gets popped and, ball's loose and Edmonton takes it back 93 yards. And Zach, Claris turning back the clock, 37 years old, sprinting down the sidelines trying to make a tackle, and him and Ontario Wilson force the defender out of bounds. But yeah, it just felt like everything that could have went wrong was going wrong. This is a team that was 16-3 after bye weeks, dating back to 2018. Mike O'Shea always has these guys ready when he has the extra time to work with, and this was inexcusable, honestly. And even things are bad when even Sergio Castillo, the trusty kicker who you can always rely on, even he's missing kicks. He misses one in the first quarter, misses one in the second. So just this team looked absolutely nothing like themselves. And losing, game 3 of the season isn't the end of the world, but just how this team looked in that first half. And yeah, there's some good things in that second half, but just It just didn't look like a classic Bombers team that we've gone to know these past few years.
What did Coach O'Shea have to say after the game? And I mean, he is always somewhat grounded, never too high, never too low. But I would imagine if you really pumped a true serum into Osh, he would have been incredibly disappointed with how his team prepared and were ready to go last night.
Well, some guys in the locker room, they were kind of saying, well, yeah, this was a bad game, but like, hey, we stuck in there. Second half, we came back to play, and we made it in a game at the end, so we could take some pride in that. And to an extent, I kind of get that, but I don't know. But Osh, he was honest, and he said, you know what, I don't believe in moral victories. There's no moral victories in pro football, and honestly, we didn't come to play. We were late, and we fumbled the game away, which is exactly what they did. I mean, they had 6 fumbles, only 3 of them were recovered by Edmonton, but just like Winnipeg has been a team, you haven't really seen them have fumbleitis really too often, but that's exactly what they had yesterday. I mean, even Brady's putting the ball on the ground. I mean, Dante Daniels, he's a rookie. He's excited. He doesn't catch a whole lot of passes, and he catches his second pass of the game for himself, and he's trying to hurdle a defender. And and then the ball, pops out, and I was talking to Brady about that, and he said he talked to him after and said, like, man, like, you're a big body guy, like, just run through guys, like, don't try to hurdle anyone, just lay into a guy. So I'm sure Dante won't be making that same mistake again, and apparently he felt very bad about it. And then Zach, I mean, he gets sacked in the second half there, kind of from the blind side. Ethan Vibert, who was on the practice roster but was called up at the last second because Patty Neufeld was ruled out for personal matter. He totally whiffs on his block, and then Zach gets crunched pretty good, and he fumbles there. And Trey Vavel, he had a great game, but he misjudged the punt and fumbled there, and luckily they were able to jump on it. But yeah, they fumbled the game away, and that's basically what Mike was saying, and you can't really disagree with him.
Let's focus in on the defense for a minute, because just thoughts overall on the way they looked early on. The fact that they did hang in there in the first half and prevent it from being much worse, and at least still being possible to get back in the game. And then the way they played in the second half up until Cody Fajardo reprised his role in the Grey Cup of the Alouette Bomber.
Well, the glass half full take would be the first half again. The defense did not look good. I mean, Justin Rankin had 95 yards on the ground alone in that first half. But in the second half, I think they held him to about only 11 or 12 yards. So clearly they made some adjustments, and they kind of took Rankin out of the game. And, Fajardo and co, they were kind of struggling for a little bit until that last drive. So that defense truly did wake up, and they gave the Bombers a chance to win the game. But the glass, not half full, half empty, I should say, kind of take would be the fact that for the third week in a row, this defense, has been on the field towards the end of the game and needed to make a stop, and they failed to do so. In Calgary, they got away with it. Vernon Adams, he marched the Stamps down the field thing on a 15-play drive, takes the lead, but, Zach and company had a minute left, so they were able to, punch back and get Sergio in range for a game-winning field goal. And then week 2 against Hamilton, down 7, 90 seconds left. If the Bombers make a stop, you're giving Zach and the guys a chance with the ball and to tie the game, and they fold. Right, Bo Levi Mitchell gets them down the field. They kick a field goal to go up 10, and they win that game. And then this one, kind of the same thing. The Bombers are up 1, 3 minutes left, and they once again they fall down and don't get the job done. So I was talking to Reddick Cramby about it, and he's like, yeah, like, it's inexcusable. This is our third game in a row where we have not come up clutch, and it's not on Jordan Younger. That's what he said. He said, it's on us guys. We got to execute better. Like, our coaches are putting us in the right position. We're just not executing well enough. And it's really frustrating, he said. And if you're a Bomber fan, I can't imagine you must be pretty frustrated as well.
Okay, dude. Speaking of frustrated, I want to give a shout out to the crowd. Amazing crowd last night. And I got to tell you, the fourth quarter, like, as that comeback happened and the Bombers got up, it was so loud in there. I mean, and it was just a gorgeous night too. I mean, the scene was set for a Bomber victory that I think we would think of as, one of the great, like, memorable nights to be at. So, like, everyone was all in. Edmonton gets their touchdown, but as we know, it's the CFL. No lead is safe. The Bombers come down. I cannot remember a WTF moment at Princess Auto Stadium like the final play of the game. And sitting there in the stands with the guys, and we were saying it, everyone else was saying it. What in the world was that last play? They're from the 33-yard line and they throw it about 13 yards. Like, was it an aborted hook and ladder or something? Or how the hell did they not get it in? I mean, maybe you get a PI, maybe you get a touchdown, but when you need 6 points and you have one play, a 12-yard gain ain't going to cut it. What was that?
Yeah, that play kind of had some shades of a 2001 Super Bowl, I believe it was, with the Titans and Rams. I think that was the year.
Yeah, 15 yards short of Kevin Dyson.
Yes, yeah. Yes, this one is even worse, though. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if Zach didn't realize how much time was left and that was going to be their last play or what. I didn't get a chance to talk to him afterwards. But yeah, that was inexcusable. I mean, at least put the ball in the end zone and hope it takes a lucky bounce and ends up in someone's lap and you get the touchdown. But yeah, that was terrible. I mean, they shouldn't have been in that spot in the first place, but you're right. That was insanity. But to the point you made about the crowd, I mean, it was kind of funny in that second quarter. They're showing on the Jumbotron fans literally face palming. That's how bad it was. And so I think everyone was just kind of desperate to have something to cheer for. So when Brady, drags a defender into the end zone to put them up a point, that was the loudest I've heard that stadium in a while. So that was pretty cool. But obviously, the stadium got pretty quiet a few minutes after that.
Yeah, it it most certainly did. Cody Fajardo, I thought they kept him in check pretty well in that second half. I mean, they manufactured more opportunities for the offense to get in, and at that point things sort of did get going. I mean, Rankin, at times it looked like the Bombers were doing a really good job on Rankin, and then 15 carries for 106 and a touchdown. Sort of easier said than done. But from a Bomber offensive standpoint, Brady had 77 on 13 carries. They did get it into his hands a little bit more through the passing game, and I think that's going to probably be a trend we see in this Tommy Condell offense. Less straight-up carries for Brady and maybe more through the background. But Nick Dembski, Tim White there, you will notice that there is no catches for Ontario Wilson, who is the number one guy. He left the game, didn't return. What do we know about his injury? And I know that they're not necessarily completely forthcoming with what's the plan moving forward, but usually you can sort of tell if this is a guy that's out for a long period of time or, it's just a wait and see this week.
Well, the good news is they do have 9 days until they play Hamilton next Sunday. But it was kind of weird because him and Zach, again, they're chasing down that defender. I think it was Tyrell Ford. And they force him out of bounds. And, Ontario is just kind of sitting there and he looks a little banged up. And I could see Zach, this kind of happened right in front of the press box where our sight line is. Zach goes up to him and Ontario's like nodding his head saying like, yeah, like I'm good. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess he's fine. But then he gets up and he goes straight to the locker room and then he never comes back. So, like you said, this is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They don't tell you anything, whether a guy stubbed his toe or whether he tore his Achilles. You're never going to get an answer. But obviously that's not a good sign. But again, they have 9 days, so that's a positive there. But it wasn't just Pokey. I mean, Jake Serezna, he left the game in the third quarter as well. So to have a disappointing showing and then to lose two of your best players as well, I mean, that's kind of an extra kick in the for the Bombers, because this defense, I mean, Serezna's a beast, but you remove him from that D line, it's kind of like, okay, other than Willie, who on that D line can really get after the quarterback? So the Bombers better hope that Serezna, who, for being honest, has had some injury issues these past few years, they better hope that his isn't too serious either.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Taylor Allen from the Winnipeg Free Press. And I guess what's the schedule? The team will be off for a few days, and then back at it. I'm sure
Tuesday. Back at it on Tuesday,
as early as possible, with lots of work to do before. Did you see? Is it Hamilton next week? Hamilton
next Sunday, and Hamilton's on a bye right now, so they've had an extra week to prepare for the Bombers. So not an ideal situation to walk into when you're 1-2.
Yeah, well, all they need to do is just watch tape of what happened in week 2, here in Winnipeg, and I'm sure they'll feel pretty good about themselves. I would suggest that, coming off of that game with the way the defense looked earlier, there's going to be a pressure on the defensive unit to execute better. But I'm sure I can tell you the group chat had a few Jordan Younger mentions last night. I would imagine that there'll be, a real focus on the defense and, some pressure on Younger to get the scheme set up to not get absolutely carved by BLM the way he did here at Princess Auto.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand that this is the CFL and it's early, and honestly, it doesn't really matter that much where you're at in the standings after 3 games. Every season there's a team that starts out slow and starts out hot, and they end up reversing course or whatever. But just the way the Bombers are playing, Huss, I can't even really put my finger on it. They just seem like something's just not clicking, or just something is really off. And the guys all seem confident. None of them are panicking or anything, but just, I don't know, just something about this team and this defense. I mean, they deserve, in their defense, they do deserve a long leash. You look at these past 5 seasons, they've allowed the least amount of offensive points against. So you can't just throw away their reputation after 3 games. But with that said, you can't be living off of your resume for forever either. I mean, they do have to kind of wake up here sooner rather than later. So. But there has been some good things too. I mean, Zach Claris has looked pretty darn well. I obviously he wasn't fantastic against Edmonton, but I don't think he was really the big problem either. I mean, their old line had some changes at the last minute too. I mean, Tuieli off the bench to start at center, and then Tyler Ellsbury, the rookie, was shifted over to guard. So the old line was a bit shaky there. But yeah, I don't know, Huss. I'm just having a hard time putting my finger on this team. But, obviously this offseason, there was all this excitement surrounding the team with all the big names that they signed and stuff. So just to be where they're at right now, no, people shouldn't be panicking. But it's definitely discouraging, though.
Hey, I'm really intrigued about this game in Kelowna tomorrow between Calgary and BC. If I force you to put a nickel on one side or the other, who's getting it? BC seem to be dealing with a lot more. Calgary could easily be 2-0. I mean, they lost on walk-off plays in their first 2 games, but it still is hard to believe that BC team could be 0-3 to start the season.
Well, BC was the off-season Grey Cup champions. I mean, every expert, so to say, was already crowning Nathan Rourke as the Grey Cup winner. But exactly. But I mean, like you said, they've had a lot of injuries. Their secondary is not pretty right now. The receivers, they're missing a few guys, so they're not truly the BC Lions. But yeah, obviously they don't want to be in a 0-3 hole. But I mean, last year too, I mean, they started out slow, and then the back half of the year, they were arguably the best team in the league, if not the West at the very least. So yeah, I mean, this game does feel like a big deal because neither team wants to go to 0-3, but I wouldn't write off either one of those squads either. But with that said, though, I think BC is going to figure it out there. They're playing in Kelowna. I'm sure they're going to have a good crowd there. And yeah, Nathan Rourke is due to carry the team on his back. No matter how bad the secondary is, I'm sure they can figure it out and get the job done.
Hey, just on the way out, obviously there was the trade this week with Drew Brown coming back. What's the quarterback situation going to look like next week now that there's a 4th guy in?
Yeah, so I think Bryce Perkins is one of the best short yardage guys in the league. And honestly, he kind of showed that on their last drive last night. I mean, I forget how many yards he went for, but he scrambled, 20 yards, whatever it was, and just made a heck of a play. And yeah, so I think taking him off the field in those situations isn't going to exactly help the Bombers. So that's going to make Taylor Elgersma the odd man out. And, there is kind of this reserve spot that they could put him on where he's not on the PR and he's still getting his full game day checks as well, and no one can pluck him obviously. So they'll probably put Elgersma there, but yeah, I think Perkins has to stay as a 3rd QB, and obviously you don't trade a 1st-round pick for a guy to not make him your backup. So yeah, I'd imagine as early as the next game, Drew Brown will be in the lineup and QB too. And it's kind of a weird one, Huss, because obviously he makes that room better, and kind of the obvious knock on the Bombers heading into this year was that, okay, this team looks good, but there is literally no experience, literally none at the CFL level behind Zach. So if Zach goes down, which he has done obviously in his career, this team is probably hooped. So it makes sense to want to buy an insurance policy in Drew Brown, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, you're trading a first round pick. And I know it's the CFL. I know they don't mean as much as basically any other league, but you're trading a first round pick for a guy that they very well likely were going to sign on the offseason for free. So it's a kind of a complicated trade, lots of layers there, but I guess it's like when you buy a warranty for something. I mean, if you end up using it, then sure, the $100 you spent on the warranty, that was the best thing you ever did. And then if you don't, then it's like, oh, well, I just burned $100. So we're gonna find out, I guess, in the coming months whether the Bombers were smart to buy some Zach Clarissa warranty or not.
Taylor, great stuff. Thanks for doing this. Have yourself a great weekend.
Yeah, you guys as well. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. There's Taylor Allen. You can read all about last night's Bomber game at the Winnipeg Free Press and winnipegfreepress.com. We got the World Cup just about to get going. Norway's sitting all their starters in this game against France. I thought it'd be a big battle to go for first. They're laying down, it seems. We'll pay attention to that and get you ready for Sunday, Canada, South Africa in the round of 32 a little bit later on. Interesting results to our poll. Will Connor Hellebuyck be a Jet when we do our show on Monday? No, 51%. Yes, 49%. So flip a coin, basically 50-50. I could, and I can't say that I'm surprised. I'm pretty much right there with you. I mean, I think it could happen, but it would not at all surprise me if it doesn't.
Can't even script that that poll, and sorry, stopped it at the right time, 115. I do want to note here on the Bombers, and I wrote this to you in DM. A lot of rumors going around about the Taylor Swift wedding taking place 4th of July weekend at Madison Square Garden. And like, they haven't really leaned into the Collaros-Kelsey relationship. I think you asked him about it, but I see Kate Biernes on the broadcast showing him about wedding gifts, the CFL on their social media promoting.
They always follow the lead of WST.
Here is my hot take. Drew Brown is going to start next Sunday, so Zach can go to the wedding and they can put it all over social media. It's worth more to the league for him to go to this wedding, be photographed in tabloid photos and wedding photos, than to play in the game for the Bombers. So Drew Brown, he's going to start. This is my half-baked, maybe fully baked take us.
That's like a fully loaded bong.
They need CFL. Look, they're sending John Gruden packages. Did you see yesterday he got a whole box? This is like that on steroids. They need Collaros at the Swift-Kelsey wedding. He's going to have an injury. Yeah.
You want a good laugh? Imagine this. Mic'd up, coach's office. Osh sitting there working on. Zach Zen. Hey, Osh. About next weekend, I have been invited to the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce wedding. You know, we just picked up Drew. What do you think? What do you think about maybe giving me a week off and I can get down there? The league's all over me. They really want me there. Would you be cool with that? That would be the most hilarious thing. I would pay $1 million to see Mike O'Shea's face of a player ask him that. I do love the angle that you're coming at, but I'm pretty sure that Zach's going to be at practice. See, originally when I asked him, we thought that the wedding was going to be on June 13th. Mm-hmm. And if it was on June 13th, that was perfect. I thought it was literally planned. Bombers play on the 11th and then have a bye. I mean, he could have been out early Friday morning, could have been there. I mean, I thought he might be a groomsman, to be perfectly honest.
It's very secretive of what's going on. But here, look, here's CFL. Here's the CFL X account when you can't decide what to get Taylor and Travis for their wedding. I mean, the value of, where's Darren Rovell to tweet out the value of marketing dollars the CFL and the Bombers will get from him being at the wedding. So I don't know. I think they should let him go. Let him rest up for a week.
We'll let you go. Are you in the wedding party? Then it's a yes. If not enough spotlight on Zach.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair compromise.
I expect Zach to start in Hamilton for the record, unlike my fully baked co-host here.
He's going to go down with an injury at practice on Tuesday. Watch out.
Then I have to go to check. Got to go check out with another doctor out east to make it happen. Then he can wear a nose and glasses at the wedding, so no one knows it's officially him. Listen, we're gonna bring on Kenny right away. What a glorious night at Princess Auto Stadium last night. I mean, it really was perfect, with the exception of that final score. But you know where it'll be perfect this weekend if you pop in at the new Princess Auto flagship superstore at 500 Panet Road. This is unlike anything our city and frankly the country, I think, has ever seen. It is a massive all-in-one spot where you will have, I mean, we always know Princess Auto is the place where you'll find everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start a new one. Add to that a massive hunting section, camping section, fishing section with all top of the line stuff. They got a restaurant, grab a smash burger, grab a beer, bring the kids, free ice cream, and then all sorts of neat things. A room where you can try a crossbow. You can work on stuff in the place. So as I say, if you haven't been to the new Princess Auto, don't wait. Get down there, 500 Panet Road. More online, and of course at princessauto.com. Our friends at Chud's Power Sports are ready for the weekend and ready for the rest of summer. We're going to get into a little power poll a little bit later on in the draft. But if you're looking for the best in ATVs, dirt bikes, motorcycles, snowmobiles, not as much now, boats, RVs, all-terrain vehicles, they have it all. And listen, they've been Manitoba's power sports superstore for 80 years. They have the most experienced and trusted staff there, amazing financing options, and great deals of clearance parts, garments, and accessories at True North Parts, which is all available at chudspowersports.com. But head on down, see Derminator and the great people at Chud's up in Gimli, corner of Highway 8 and 231. And hey, our friend Dr. Terry is back. As he said in the chat yesterday, as he was traveling back from the soccer game in Vancouver, be working on the jibs today. And if your jibs need a look at or some work, St. Vital Dental Center is the spot. They've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans and continue to do so at a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. Full service at St. Vital Dental Center for clients from 6 months to 99 plus. And of course, a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They do it all. Make an appointment today, stvitaldental.ca, and tell Dr. Terry that the boys at WST sent you. All right, we're going to bring in Ken right away. I do want to mention, though, that if you are around in town this weekend, 2 o'clock, Sunday afternoon, the next biggest game in the history of our Canadian men's soccer team is happening. We've had 2 amazing days at Boston Pizzas. We won't be doing a live show on Sunday, but if you're looking for a spot to watch the game, get out to your local BP lounge. I'd suggest getting there early and getting your spot because every Boston Pizza is going to be packed in red with Canadians cheering on their squad in the round of 32 with great prizes, great specials as well. And one lucky BP customer is going to be going to the World Cup final as well. Ask in store about that. 2 o'clock on Sunday, Boston Pizza. Throughout the city in southern Manitoba is the place to be. Wear your Canada red. All right, let's bring in Kenny from Kenny and Rennie. Winnipeg Free Press was busy this morning trying to squeeze blood from a stone with Kevin Cheveldayoff. No surprise that there was no outright admission that Hellebuck has requested a trade despite the great efforts of you and your colleagues, Ken. But what do you think the real answer is to that question?
Well, Huss, great to be with you as always. I mean, again, I think the real answer is that there's a legitimate chance these parties could be staying together after this. It's not quite at the separation stage, Huss, but
Yes.
I guess we put it that way. I mean, the divorce is not either final or certain at this stage. So
They're in counseling.
they're definitely in couples counseling at this stage. It would appear. I think that's a good way to put it. Again, I think that, as you mentioned, Kevin Cheveldayoff likes to keep things close to the vest, but I mean, he also made it a little bit more certain than in previous occasions that, I don't remember the listening portion being out there, except maybe in the case of Patrick Laine, right? It wasn't out there with Trouba necessarily. It wasn't out there on some of the other, Evander Kane or some of those other situations. So, I mean, again, it's pretty obvious the Jets have been taking a lot of calls on Connor Hellebuyck, and I mean, Kevin Cheveldayoff was quite definitive in saying that, guess what? I mean, the reason we're not talking about a trade being consummated is because the offers haven't hit the price. Any of the teams that are believed to be interested, and we know at least 2-3 of them are the Florida Panthers, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Carolina Hurricanes. There are others probably lurking in the weeds, Huss. But to this point, the point of demarcation on Anton Lundell is been a no on Florida's side, which means it's a no on the Jets side. When it comes to Carolina, Alexander Nikishin, I think, would be a nice addition. But that can't be the centerpiece of the deal, right? And again, Carolina could say, oh, well, you could take Kochetkov or Bussy and at least have one goalie. Well, yeah, that's true. But they're giving one of the best goalies in the world / league in that deal. So to me, 32nd pick, Nikishin and one of the goalies, that doesn't get it done if I'm Kevin Cheveldayoff either. Which takes us to the Buffalo Sabres, who are the most intriguing, as I wrote in my piece in the Free Press today, Huss. I mean, because of the number 4 pick being something that could be both present and future, that's where the intrigue comes from. UPL is a guy who, has a pretty good track record. Yes, there was one season in the middle, but 2 of his last 3 seasons were excellent. And again, as I've mentioned, Luukkonen is a guy, Huss, that when we all thought that Hellebuyck was not going to be re-signing and might be on the way out 2 summers ago, I think Luukkonen is a goalie that the Jets, put a lot of research into in terms of seeing if he might be, a solution if they had to move Hellebuyck at the time. So right now it sounds, Huss, like the stumbling point is this. I mean, Buffalo is including the number 4 pick in their offer, but they also want to flip. They don't want to just give the 4th. They want to get the 8th if they are giving the 4th. So, and Huss, this may sound odd, but this is one of those drafts where the difference between the player taking at 4 and 8 is not nearly as significant as it has been in years past. So flipping the pick, I mean, honestly, I'm going to put it this way. If you're the Jets, you might be getting the same player at 8 as you would in trading up to 4. So moving up those 4 places doesn't really accomplish a whole lot. Now, unless there's a curveball and Malhotra does not go to Vancouver, if Malhotra is there at 4, yes, then there's a chance to get a center at that position, right? That may not be available at 8, right? Or on the flip side, Karls or Verhoff, who probably aren't there at 8, but might be there at 4. So that's where it's an interesting. I'm not saying it's not worthwhile to go to 4 and get the guy you want, but on the team's lists, I don't think that there's a massive drop off between 4 and 8, though, of course, in this sense, if you can get one of the centers, then yes, you're solving that problem with that pick.
Ken, here's a little update for you. And I'll reset this. I mentioned this at the start of the show, but we can always kind of see what is really happening by checking out what the betting lines are, because that's real, actual monetary risk that these companies are taking. Caleb Malhotra has been a heavy favorite to go to the Canucks at number 3 for the last number of months, despite the fact, and I know we talked about this before, we know it here in Winnipeg, that was awkward for Adam and Dave Lowry. Imagine
with an established player.
That's what I'm saying. Like, imagine going in your first crack at the NHL, trying to, earn your spot and be in the room, and your dad's the coach. To me, it's a disastrous situation waiting to happen. I think a lot of this Malhotra stuff at 3 was smoke, because it is completely flopped. Chase Reed is now a big favorite to go number 3, and the reason I bring that up is, let's assume that happens. If the Jets were to get the number 4 pick, I was always of the mind that Malhotra was going number 3. And oh my God, if the 4 pick could be in play, we're going to find out how much the Jets really want Carson Carroll's. If the Jets were to get 4 and Malhotra and Carroll's would be, we know the big need is 2C. There's all the other things to love about Carroll's. Well, who do you think the Jets would pick if they had the option between those 2 players?
Yeah, so that goes back to my original question or point here. If you have 8 still, if you have to flip the picks, then you have to get Hellenius in the deal, right? But if you're keeping both picks, then you're probably taking Malhotra at 4 and taking Rudolph at 8, or whichever one of the D-men is available. Again, Carson Carl's would be an incredible story, Huss, but and again, best player available, all of that, I get it. But right now on the Jets depth chart, it's pretty left D heavy. So if you can solve that 2C problem, whether it's when getting Hellenius or in drafting Bjork or Malhotra, again, I think the temptation has to, especially in a year that, honestly, it's interesting, Huss, right? It's the 15-year anniversary this week of getting Mark Scheifele, right? There's some synergy there. But again, the chance to add a Manitoba-born player who brings all of these incredible qualities and might be a future captain might be something that would be impossible to ignore. But Huss, I would also flip it around in saying this: Keaton Verhoff, is the Alex Pietrangelo, Aaron Ekblad type of partner we've been looking at. Maybe the Jets trying to get to play with Josh Morrissey. If you're looking at wanting to sign Morrissey, getting a 6'3", 212 or 15-pound defenseman that might be his partner for the next, decade or 5 to 10 years, whatever the number is, Huss. I mean, that's why there's so many ping pong balls in the air here, and it's not clear. The Jets would love to add another forward. If they can't get Hellenius, well, they'd love Noah Ostlund, and in addition to UPL, right? So right now you have not seen Buffalo's best offer. But Buffalo just took care of their other business here in getting Olin Zellweger, Huss. So he's Byram light. Now, he's obviously not as advanced as Byram. He is an offensively gifted, skilled player and excellent puck mover. A little bit undersized, Huss. But again, this is a defense that has a bunch of trees on it already. So you can afford to go out and get Zellweger. And he's, I'm not saying he needs to be protected, but you want a skilled puck moving guy that can run your second power play if you need him there. You already got Dahlin in power, but I mean, this is the kind of guy that can play offensive minutes, and you don't need to shelter him because you have some of the other guys that you could play with him on that third pairing, I guess, if you will. So I do think the fact that none of the Jets' supposed targets were going on the way out in that deal for Zellweger. They moved Wallstrom, I think, as a centerman who had been playing in Rochester. I think it's 30 goals and 60-some points in the last 2 years at Roch. So, so they're moving a center from their organization. Now, does that take Hellenius off the board completely? We're not sure, right? So I do think that the piece of business that I'm not saying that it was holding up the potential for a trade with Buffalo and Winnipeg, but adding that defensive piece, that you could probably play with Metza on a pairing, that probably means Buffalo is, they're taking care of some of their business now. They made some big moves this week, losing Tuck, so they don't necessarily want to add lose an NHL ready forward as well. But you're also weighing that in terms of having a chance to add one of the best goalies in the National Hockey League for a team that's trying to A, get over the top, and B, having to try to topple Carolina and Florida. Huss, you and I know this. I mean, one of the best ways to try to topple both of those teams is by having elite goaltending, right? That's supposed to be the great equalizer. Now, another thing I'm super interested in, we know Florida and Bob have sort of been apart on the money, but I mean, Bobrovsky also was in Columbus, right? I mean, Bob was between the pipes when they knocked off Tampa. So, I mean, wouldn't Kekalainen, if he can't get Hellebuck, Might he be looking at Bobrovsky as kind of a shorter term solution, knowing that he already has Colton Ellis and Alex Lyon in the system? And man, let's not forget, Alex Lyon and Bobrovsky were a tandem in Florida. And at that one point, Lyon took the starting job down the stretch, right? So again, both sides are still, I'm not saying chicken, but like neither side has given their best offer yet. And I think that we're getting closer now as the clock starts to tick here when that 4th overall pick gets to be a little bit sooner. We're about to find out if Gary Bettman will step to the podium and say, we have a trade to announce or not, right? I mean, Buffalo fans are going to be going wild in either way. They're either potentially getting Hellebuyck or they're going to be making a pick that is augmenting a core that just made the playoffs for the first time in 14 years.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Hey, by the way, I should mention that this segment is brought to you by our friends at your Prairie Toyota dealers and the Toyota Tacoma. The standard iForce engine boasts an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. In fact, it's the most powerful Tacoma ever. So whether you're hauling gear to the rink or heading to an away game, you can tackle it with ease. And when it's time to load up, the available power liftgate makes loading your gear in and out a cinch. Experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Now you can lease a 2026 Tacoma from $110 weekly at 5.69% APR for 60 months with $70.99 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Prairie Toyota dealer. It's time to Toyota. Listen, we get the Florida thing if there was a trade there. But Ken, if Connor Hellebuyck accepts a trade to the Buffalo Sabres, what will that tell us about how bad he wants out of Winnipeg?
Well, I mean, it would tell us that he'd be going to a place where they were a 100-point team last year, Huss, whereas the Jets were 1 2 years ago, I guess, right? So it would tell us that Connor Hellebuyck doesn't believe in the core anymore. And he is, if not the biggest, he is one of the biggest pieces of the core. Well, I mean, he is the biggest piece of the core at this point. So, I think that, we're trying to connect the dots, and A plus B in this situation equals C. So, again, this is a guy who said he signed a lifetime contract and intended to play his entire career with the Jets. So again, we understand that circumstances change in professional sports, and we know that the level of attention surrounding Connor Hellebuyck has been massive since leading his country to the first gold medal since the Miracle on Ice team, and that he has been enjoying and reveling in some of that attention. So again, Buffalo wouldn't be going to New York or LA where that attention can be a little bit more constant or on a national level. But, for a guy who loves fishing, being around the Great Lakes, I think would sort of still have some appeal. He would have a teammate there from Team USA and Tage Thompson, not terribly far from home of Detroit, Huss. So, I mean, again, I think that it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be a big slap in the face to Winnipeg to say, oh, suddenly a player wants to go to Buffalo. And again, I think it would have less to do with Connor's feelings about this province and the place that he's lived for his entire NHL career than it would be in believing that Buffalo is a team on the rise and just sort of were scratching the surface in last year's playoffs with a young core and trying to get over the top. But at the same time,
what's your read on how many teams like he would accept a trade to? Like I'm of the opinion the more this goes through that this is a guy like some of his comrades that want to get south of the border. I mean, That's the priority, and obviously doesn't want to go to a garbage team that he doesn't have a chance to win. What's your understanding of how many teams might be at least amenable to him?
Yeah, that's a great question, Huss. I don't have an answer. I think that you're onto something. I think that, yes, we've heard the Toronto Maple Leafs being one of the teams that were linked because he and Austin Matthews are buddies from their Team USA days. But to me, that one doesn't make sense to me. I think his priority is to go to the States. I don't know if it's 5 or 10 or whatever that number is, Huss. But what I do know is this, that if the Jets don't get the asking price, Connor Hellebuyck will be reporting to training camp and be between the pipes because, Huss, the other part of this equation that we know and has been discussed from the very beginning, Connor Hellebuyck moves from a no-move clause, full no-movement clause this season to a modified no-trade clause next summer. So you are automatically expanding the field next summer if you can't get a deal that is to your liking. Now, are there some risks attached to that? Sure, but It's a lot less risky than just accepting a deal that you're not comfortable with and that leaves you scrambling for parts, right? I mean,
that's a great point. And to be honest, I completely forgot about it. I could check.
I think
right
it's
off.
10, but I want to say it's 10 or 15 next year. It goes from a full to 10 or 15. Now, again, we'd have to double check.
I got Puck PD here. Maybe they'll have it right on there, because it's
a game changer in a lot of ways, Huss, right?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I think maybe that could also be a part of being somewhat amenable. Okay, so it's a 10-team approved.
Right? Approved.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
10 teams that I can't go to.
So it's 22. So
yeah, 22, essentially a 22 team no trade list.
So you're slightly expanding the field in that scenario, right? And you're also opening up some other avenues. Now, again, you're opening them up to now a 34-year-old instead of a 33-year-old. But again, we're not expecting Hellebuyck's play to drive off the cliff. That's just not what we're expecting. We're expecting him to be Vezina form Hellebuyck next year again, and that will make him more appealing, whether it's at the deadline, depending on how the Jets season is going, or in the summer leading up to next year's draft. But again, I think this is the other part of it too, Huss. I mean, given all the discussions we had about culture in the previous time frame and the need to clean up that culture over the last 4 seasons, I don't think that the Jets necessarily would want an unhappy player around. But again, there's no evidence to this point to suggest that Connor Hellebuyck is unhappy. He just would be looking for seems like he's that whole open to a change of scenery would suggest that, this is no longer his optimal choice. So, until we hear from Hellebuyck, and again, we'd have to hear from Hellebuyck with a level of truth serum. Now, good for him. He's usually a guy who doesn't speak with a filter, but, unless he's more amendable to the team with the best offer, then he's staying put. So, it could get to a point where, it's not a game of chicken with the Jets and Hellebuyck, but, in order for it to be mutually beneficial, there has to be a little bit of compromise, which takes us back to the whole counseling element that we started this discussion with, right? I mean, if you really are looking to get south of the border and get elsewhere, then you may have to accept your second or third choice. While you're still going to a contender, you may not get your number one choice because that team didn't make a good enough offer. Now, again, that team may blink suddenly and change their mind at the last minute too. We know that deadlines spur action, but in terms of the Jets, Huss, unless the fourth pick is the only, if the fourth pick is not essential, then those other teams kind of get back into the mix after that fourth pick has been made, because we're not going to see an NBA type of deal where, the Sabres take who the Jets want. And then, at 10 PM, there's a flip-flop special, like with Steph Curry and some of those other guys. Right. I mean, I think that if that fourth pick is made by Buffalo, now this could expand or draw out this situation a little bit further. But again, it'll be interesting to see if it comes to a head tonight or not.
What do you think Chevy would have said? And how different would the answer have been if, when you opened up today's presser, instead of asking if Connor Hellebuyck had requested a trade, had asked if Mark Scheifele had requested a trade or Josh Morrissey had requested a trade?
Yeah, I mean, Hassan, and that's, you're getting to the domino effect portion, right? So again, and it just, let me put it this way.
Would it have been a hard no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's been no indication that would be. And again,
or would it have been said, "Hey, we always have to listen if people."
Well, yes, the listening on everyone is sort of more of a, I think that's a GM doing his job, but you're not listening on those guys unless there's an impetus on their behalf. And I would put it this way, Huss. I mean, I don't think that Kevin Cheveldayoff is bringing up Josh Morrissey in a story about, please relay this to Braden Yager as he gets ready for his next NHL training camp. If those other core pieces have, been knocking on his door or having their agents call him and say, if Hellebuyck is gone, then I'm gone.
Yeah, no, I'm asking that question, assuming that they have not. And it's a very clear,
exactly.
Easy no. Just do we get that no?
Well, no, I don't think we do, Huss.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, I think that, especially at this time of year, I think there has to be, there's the shroud of secrecy is probably at its highest around this 1 week period or this 10-day period between the draft and free agency. But yeah, I mean, it's not an accident we're asking specifically about one player, because, you know, there aren't that level of discussions happening if they aren't happening, right? I mean, the one thing we've learned in these 15 seasons is that it's pretty hard to keep a secret from the multitude of insiders and, you know, people surrounding the game that are reporting news. So, yeah, I mean, it's a scenario that I mean, I think that we all thought that there would be this cooling off period, you know, going back to April 17th. By now, the things have been cooled, and, you know, the Jets would be trying to make their team better, and, you know, we would be expecting Connor Hellebuyck to leading what I have been calling the redemption tour. Not for him, but for the team as a whole, after the, you know, precipitous fall from 1st to 27th. But, you know, you can even too, Kevin's answer, you know, or his reference to Connor Hellebuyck's year-end meeting was a lot different today than it was on April 17th, right? I mean, there he applauded him for, that's just his competitive nature, and, you know, that's how I would expect him to react. To sort of today, it was more a matter of, well, that was him expressing frustration that, you know, if the offer's right, could ultimately lead to his departure in some ways.
Yarmo, GMs, if you want a presidential Medal of Freedom winner, you're going to have to pay the price. We'll see what happens tonight. Interesting one from Russ Lowen. How do you think the value of Helly compares right now to next year at the deadline? And is it all just dependent on how next year goes for him? Or, you know, is there a chance that, you know, with teams in particular desperate situations, we always see the overpays in and around the deadline.
Right.
Like, is there merit to this doesn't have to happen now, and you move in, you've got a great guy that can help you win games, and if you're still open to this later on, potentially getting a larger haul, or is that unrealistic?
Yeah, I don't know that it's unrealistic, Huss. I just think that, you know, in the off season, the machinations are a little bit easier because you have probably a broader field or scope of field in terms of, you know, you need, okay, well, even too, Kevin Cheveldayoff referenced the second line center. You know, when you're moving a goalie, it's probably easier to replace that goalie in the off season than it is at the deadline. Probably, but again, it's a complicated scenario, and the one thing that makes it a little bit more, it's both less and more complicated by the fact Hellebuyck has the 5 seasons, Huss. So when you keep him for, you know, whether it's the majority of the year or longer, you know, it's not like he's on an expiring contract, and it's not like he's Quinn Hughes where it's after 1 year then you have the expiring contract, right? So he's got a 5-year package, and, you know, he's most likely to be at your highest value in years 1, 2, and probably 3 of the 5. So, you know, the more time you shave off the deal, I don't know that it makes him, you know, exponentially more valuable, but it also doesn't necessarily hurt the value because you still have at least 5 playoff runs with him. You know, that goes to 4 if you wait till next off season, obviously, but I still think you're getting sort of some of Hellebuyck's peak years. And I understand the whole thought that after 33, there aren't going to be peak years, but, you know, Connor Hellebuyck isn't just the regular person. You're not just plugging the algorithm in and saying, well, Hellebuyck's going to be on the decline. Well, he might have his best season he's ever had next fall because of how he takes care of himself and because he's been off, not playing since April 17th this year. So, and he's highly motivated and just had his, you know, highest heights with the Team USA. So, long-winded way of saying I don't know that the value changes that much, other than, you know, the chance of overpay is there at the deadline. But you also, you know, when it's coming to draft picks, let's just put it this way. You know, if Buffalo is in a situation where they're still the team that's trying to get Hellebuyck at the deadline, they're not going to be able to offer the 4th overall pick if they're near the top of the Eastern Conference standings like they are at this current time. So, you know, again, if that 4th overall pick is important enough to either move up on or flip the picks, then now would be the most valuable Hellebuyck might ever be. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's dependent to a degree towards how he plays next season.
Weber, great stuff, folks. If you want a little more draft primer when you're finished with us today, head over to KNR. Had a great bit with Bacala and Sammy the Scarf to get you ready for tonight. And, of course, Ken will have tons of coverage along with Mike in the Winnipeg Free Press. Weber, should be an interesting weekend. Enjoy the first round tonight.
Yeah, great to be with you as always. And I think he probably told you when he was on this week, but Mike is just about to get on the highway heading down to Cypress River to attend the Carson Carl's draft party this evening. There will be extensive coverage there in the Freep, and I'll be handling the Jets. And yeah, it's been a fun week, and I think we're planning on a KNR live show tonight, sometime between 11 and midnight, depending on
those old Anaheim games, like those old Anaheim games,
depending on the mayhem. So
turn your notifications on if you want to be notified that these guys are live. If not, you can check it out tomorrow. Take it easy, Kenny.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend, my friend. Cheers.
All right, we are gonna go. It sucks that we're not all in Buffalo for the second straight year. Someone that is, though, is going to join us in just a minute. Mike Morreale. I do want to remind you, folks, our Goldeye game, the WST patio party, is next Tuesday. Heading into Canada Day. Great day to get out for a ball game and meet the rest of the WST crew. Saw a bunch of podcast listeners that came up and said hi at the game last night. Said, hey, join us at the game. Still a few tickets left. Go to winnipegsportstalk.com. To get those. And the Fish open up their series tonight. They've got pregame wrestling, and the first 1,000 fans get Lucha Libre masks of the Goldeyes. So if you're into that, you can follow the draft on the phone. Head on down to the ballpark tonight. Get there early for that. But winnipegsportstalk.com for tickets for the patio party at the Goldeyes next Tuesday. Hey, huge game. Canada, South Africa, World Cup on Sunday. Royal Sports is your World Cup headquarters. I've been in there a few times this week. They got Canada jerseys, the jackets the players are wearing, hats, scarves, you name it, and tons of gear from the rest of the top teams in the World Cup. While you're there, check out the soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, you name it. They've got it, and an amazing selection of bikes, including the bike that I ripped from the Forks to the Bomber game last night on, which was a lot of fun. Royals at 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And hey, we're back at it next week. No Monday racing at Assiniboia Downs. They will go Tuesday and Wednesday. Of course, Wednesday being Canada Day will be one of the biggest days of the year. Get your friends, get your family, free admission, free parking, and it's always a great night at Assiniboia Downs. More information on booking the dining room and more online at assiniboiadowns.com. All right, we're going to head out to Buffalo right now and welcome in Mike Morreale from NHL.com. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time as we tick down to the picks being made tonight in Buffalo. How are you?
Pretty good, Andrew. It's a lot of excitement here. We're gearing up. We had the clinic with the youths here in Buffalo this morning, which was really good because it gives a lot of the top guys, including McKenna, Stenberg was there, Albert Smeets, a lot of the top guys an opportunity to kind of relieve some of that anxiousness, right? To kind of get on the ice, get some of the rust out and get some of that, maybe that nervousness off. So it worked out well. It was for about an hour, but now I'm sure they're in their, hotel rooms. The parents, I'm sure, are helping them get ready. So there's a lot of excitement here on the opening day.
Yeah, I mean, all the top prospects, minus, of course, I think Carson Carroll's has to work on the farm today. I'm sure he'll be done his chores by the time 6 o'clock comes around. But pretty much everybody there in and around. It does seem, Mike, like, all year long we've heard about, McKenna and Stenberg and then a bit of a gap, but a lot of intrigue as to the Vancouver pick. And for so long, people been saying Malhotra, they love the kid. But I think we all realize, maybe more so here in Winnipeg, when what happened when Paul Maurice dipped and Dave Lowry took over and Adam Lowry was on the team, that can be a difficult situation. We're seeing the books are now moving Chase Reed as the likely third overall selection. What's your thoughts on Vancouver's decision to make? And what are you hearing about who likely will be off the board after we expect McKenna and Stenberg go 1-2?
Yeah, Andrew, that's the $1 million question. And I always thought kind of like the San Jose Sharks, held the power pick here on wherever direction they go. Look, as you said, McKenna is probably the firmest consensus at number 1. I think the Reed-Stenberg split is real at number 2. Malhotra was commonly falling at 3, but if one of those, either Reed or Stenberg, fall, that is certainly an option for the Canucks to go to. Now, the only reason why, I would say maybe Vancouver's in line to get that centerman is because they need a pivot. They need a guy that's going to be that two-way guy with the face-offs, a guy that's going to be a leader in the locker room. And look, I know Manny is there, and it's kind of a tense situation, but Malhotra is legit as far as what he's capable of bringing to an organization. From Brantford setting all kinds of records in the Ontario Hockey League this year, the goals and assists and points he put up, and what he was able to do in the OHL playoffs this year. I know Brantford didn't push at the end, but they certainly made a real good effort to kind of get to where they were, and Malhotra played a huge role in that and what he was capable of doing. So if they don't go to Malhotra, it probably will be one of those top defensemen, because I tell you, Andrew, there's 5-6 defensemen on this board that are very, very worthy of a top 5, top 6 pick. So it's going to be interesting the direction Vancouver goes. According to my mock, though, I did have Vancouver taking Malhotra because I just think he's the next one of the best forwards on the board. And obviously you do go center, D when you're trying to build your team throughout in the draft. So I would say Malhotra, but if it doesn't happen, I think you're on the mark there. It's going to be Reed. It could be Verhoff. It could be Karls.
And if that happens, it gets really interesting, at 4. And listen, there's been a lot of smoke around the Buffalo Sabres potentially moving the 4 pick to Winnipeg in a deal that might contain Connor Hellebuck. Now, what we're hearing is that the sticking point is the Jets don't want to give up 8. I mean, they don't want this just to be a move up 4 picks. I mean, if you're trading a guy that's won 3 Vezinas and a Hart Trophy, and you aren't getting that Anton Lundell that comes in and just immediately takes over, you'd like to have a player that can do that, but the draft capital is huge. Speaking of the 4 pick, before we kind of get into who might go there, what was your reaction when you heard the price Chicago paid to get Bowen Byram, which included the 4 pick as well as another pick in Louis Crevier?
Well, I thought it was interesting, Andrew, because we had the prospects media availability yesterday here in downtown Buffalo, and I was talking to Ilya Morozov, the freshman center from Miami University, and I asked him about the trades that were going on, and he actually singled out that particular trade, and he says, I can't believe Chicago gave up the number 4 pick. He goes, it's something you don't normally see very often. So, even the prospects are paying close attention to that. But yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise. Look, Byram is a player that wants to be considered a number 1. I don't know if he was going to be given that opportunity in Buffalo. And, going to Chicago, he's going to get that opportunity now. And let's face it, Chicago has been picking in the top 5 of this draft for several years now. And I think it comes to a point where they want to show their fans that, we're picking at the top, we're getting some decent players here, but we also want to be, looking ahead and wanted to, create something here, not just be a pipeline of prospects. So they wanted to maybe stabilize the blue line in that way. They got a Jordan Greenway who will be a bottom 6 player. I can understand the move there. I can understand it. But yes, it was a heavy price to pay because the number 4 pick, you're getting a quality player, no doubt.
You guys in the NHL.com mock, you had Verhoff, Kimmelman had Chase Reed. That could change if Malhotra is available. I mean, there's that premium on centers, and Buffalo does have some good ones that seem to be ready to go. But at the same time, are you going to miss out? And they have Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, and Samuelson. So, I mean, they really do. And they just picked up Owen Zellweger as well. So it'll be interesting to see how, what happens with that 4th pick if Buffalo keeps it and uses it otherwise. But based on the mock here in Winnipeg, I mean, there's 2 players that certainly our listeners, Jet fans, have been really geeked on. I mean, number 1 is Carson Karels. He's from just down the highway in Cypress River, Manitoba. He said that he would love to play here. That is music to the ears of Jet fans. Sometimes, when we go back to the Rucker McGrory thing and all that, I mean, you do want a good fit of someone that, that really does want to be here. He is going to Calgary in your mock at number 6. I wonder whether the Nemec trade earlier this week changes Calgary's outlook at all on that pick, because the guy that I think a lot of Jet fans are worried that will be going to Calgary is the guy that you have mocked to Winnipeg and many others have in Vigo Bjork.
Yes.
Who everyone is kind of excited about. He had the World Championships. Give us the Calgary situation as it pertains to Carroll's, and might that mean Vigo goes a little higher? And who knows if Carlos is even available at 6, I guess, is the other part of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. And look, I love Carson Carles and what he was able to bring to the ice this year. I think the one thing that stood out to me with him, Andrew, was the offensive output that he really showcased this season. I didn't really expect that. So you have the offensive output, and he plays with a little bit of an edge too, which is what all GMs and scouts want to see. So that's a feather in his cap as well. The Keaton Verhoff, Daxon Rudolph is another one. But yeah, I did have Vigo Bjork going to the Jets. The Calgary situation is interesting, as you say. Shimon Nemec going to Calgary does kind of change the dynamic there a little bit. You're right. I still think Calgary is a team. Todd Button, the director of amateur scouting there, is a guy who likes to go best player available when drafting this high. So personally, I think, he will go one of those defensemen. And I think from there, and Seattle as well. They're drafting, of course, right before Winnipeg. And I think they may go D, whether it be a Keaton Verhoff or an Albert Smeets there for Seattle. But I think Calgary, while they could go Vigo Bjork, and it's funny you said that, because in my mock draft previous to the one you're looking at, I did have Calgary going with Vigo Bjork. And I think I had Winnipeg drafting Daxon Rudolph at that time. So this is fluctuating, Andrew. It's like I can't really get my claws on it as much as I really want to. But there's a lot of good players in here. This is a real good top 15, top 20 draft as far as quality of what we're seeing. And usually when you think quality in the draft, you think centerman and you think D. Now, this draft may be a little light in the center aspect of things. You do have some good quality ones. And look, I'm going to say it right now, like a Vigo Bjork, we're maybe 2 inches taller. Mm-hmm. He may be in the discussion for the number 1 pick or a top 2 pick in this draft, because we know there are 2 left wings that are at the top of this draft, and Gavin McKenna and Ivar Stenberg. So for me personally, I think I see Calgary going D, and I think Winnipeg's going to grab that centerman and Vigo Bjork. Well, we'll see what happens, though. It's going to be interesting.
Hey, listen, there'd be a lot of happy Jet fans if Vigo Bjork is called by Winnipeg. I think there's a lot of excitement, and God knows, we've been like, this show has been on for over 5 years, and the amount of oxygen we've spent on the number 2 center position at the Winnipeg Jets is almost unquantifiable. So that certainly would make a lot of people happy. Mike, there's the Bjork and Malhotra. We've got the group of defensemen, that 5-6 guys that a lot of teams are high on, in the 2 left wings. That's sort of the top 10. Later on in the first round, I always like to ask guys that really do this professionally, like, give me 1 or 2 of your guys. Like, is there a guy or 2 that you expect to be a first-round pick that you might be higher on than maybe some of your contemporaries when you're looking at other mocks?
Yeah, the first guy that comes to mind is Malte Gustafsson. Plays for HV71 in the Swedish Hockey League. Real composure, Andrew. Confidence beyond his age at 18. Skates well, handles the puck really clean. He doesn't look nervous, even when he was playing in the Swedish Hockey League this year. He can quarterback a power play, has real good size. And I think in this draft was kind of an underrated D-man. So I think the comparisons to him are like a Matthias Ekholm or a Matthias Samuelsson. Most of the scouts and the GMs love to see these defensemen that can quarterback a power play. And Gustafsson, I think, is one of those players that if he drops is going to be really, really good value. Forward-wise, I'm a big fan of Nikita Klepov of Saginaw, the right wing there. 37 goals, 97 points in 67 games, won the OHL Rookie of the Year, voted by the general managers there in the O. Led all OHL saves and points this year, his first year. Just one of the better finishers in this draft class. And the coaches named him the most dangerous in goal area, as well as the best shootout shooter. And we know that's a quality that a lot of the teams want to have nowadays, because a lot of these games are going to shootouts. But he just has a knack for finding that open ice, is especially dangerous with his one-timer, real natural scorer, and he's going to Michigan State next year. A lot of these players, as we know, Andrew, headed to the NCAA route to get a year in, or else staying and then going to the NCAA the following year. So it's going to be interesting with these particular players. Those two in particular, I really have an interest in. And finally, I have to mention the Ruck twins, Andrew.
I was just going to ask you about those guys.
Just a fun story. Liam and Marcus Ruck, the twins, the first siblings in CHL history to finish 1-2 in the CHL in scoring. Marcus is the left shot center with the playmaker's brain, and he's the older brother by 8 minutes. The birth certificate there, and Liam is the right shot, right wing, the designated finisher. He was second in the dub with 104 points, including 45 goals. Look, whichever team, or I should say, whichever twin a team takes first, the second one is probably more valuable to that team than anyone else, because you just know the chemistry already exists. And you can basically fill 2/3 of your line in the next 3-4 years, and then for however long that they're in the NHL. So the Ruck twins, to me, a real interesting story to follow here as well.
Mike, thanks so much. Just on the way out, do you think, it's already been an insane week with the number of trades. Are we just going to be seeing teams go up and make their picks, or do you think tonight might get a little crazy?
Yeah, look, there's real trade potential here still, I think, Andrew, because the board is unsettled after number one. 7 teams enter with multiple first-round picks. St. Louis has 4. San Jose has 3. 5 others with 2. Toronto at number 1 looks stable. I think we can all say that. But after that, Sharks at number 2. The number of teams holding multiple picks gives GMs a lot of flexibility and ammunition here. The one caution I'd only say is the true top 10 picks, especially those in the top 5, are rarely traded. And we know that. And since 2005, there have only been 11 top 10 picks moved in the cap era. So it's very difficult to do. We know Chicago did it with Buffalo. So, hey, let's roll the dice. Let's get it done, Andrew. Let's have more stuff to write about tonight. It'll be interesting.
Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Hopefully, next year, we're all in the same spot, and we kind of have that true hockey convention we have every year. But in the meantime, we will do it from distance. Thanks for the time, and here's to what would hopefully be a really exciting night at the first round in Buffalo.
Really appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks a lot for having me on, and enjoy the draft, buddy.
Should be good. All the best. There's Mike Morreale, NHL.com. You can check his mock right now, and you can follow him at Mike Morreale, NHL. Our buddy T. Kona Pauly has popped in with a nice super chat. T. Kona, thank you. And I know you've had a few this week. But T. Kona Pauly is not waiting to see what happens. The hammer has been dropped from Transcona. The org's failing. If ever there was a time for a new GM and blowing it up, and moving Helly, Jomo, KFC, DeMello, and could have left this draft stacked with picks, 3 in top 15 a la St. Louis, and fast-tracked rebuild. Jets need Prez of hockey ops badly. There's the take from T. Kona. Bryce YWG with another one. Thank you, Bryce. Really feels like we are running back the same team. How do they think that will make Helly happy? Appreciate WST. Thanks for the great coverage. I mean, listen, if we're talking about the exact same thing and nothing's happened next week, I mean, I and as I said, I've been one to say, hey, hold your horses. I'm not expecting this just to happen automatically. But I think there's at least a 50-50 chance that when we fire it up on Monday for our regular show, that we have, a big move. And I mean, listen, trading Hellebuyck would be, a seismic move in the league, not just for the Winnipeg Jets and in Jets history. So let's give it 48 hours and see what happens through this next little bit. And then we can come with some big time hot takes on Monday's show. Hey, I want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake. By the way, Marbles, I believe, is open. Yeah, Marbles is open right now. It is
open now. Some people jumped the gun and started typing it, so you
yes.
Make sure you type it.
Do it again right now is when you're doing it. We're going to try to get in. I want to catch the second half of these soccer games this afternoon. Do want to thank our friends at Aikens Lake. Man, I've been watching the Aikens social channels, and are they pulling up some big ones? And if you're into fishing, check out our segment yesterday with Josh McFadden. Awesome stuff for him from Hunt Fish, Manitoba. But go to aikenslake.com for more information on a fly-in fishing getaway where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg with world-class fishing and world-class hospitality from the Aikens family, or the Aikens team and the Turan family. And again, Aikens Lake on all social channels if you want to see the monsters that have been coming out of the lake recently. Let's do a little Breezy Bend golf update for you. Round 2 of the Travelers is in effect, and look who's at the top. Oh, Scotty Scheffler, just a little 60 today. He's got a 2-shot lead on Victor Hovland. Scotty's 16 under. Vic was 61 today, 14 under. Akshay Bhatia 62 today. He's 12 under. Other guys in the mix. Well, I don't know if many people really are in the mix, because after the 12s, you got Bud Colley at 10 and then a bunch of guys at 9. But again, that's 7 back of Scotty, and that is tough to do. Hey, if you're thinking about a great long-term home for you and your family at one of Winnipeg's top private courses, check out Breezy Bend. Played last weekend. I mean, the course could not be in better shape. But there's been so many incredible improvements over the last 10 years to the golf course, to the clubhouse. It really is a special place with an incredible membership group. Find out more today online at breezybend.ca. All right, we do have marbles to get to. We've got to take another look at these lines for the draft as well as the World Cup. But first, it's Friday. Let's crack a cold one. A big shout out to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's head over and get to our Cool Bet lines for our friends at Cool Bet. First things first, Sunday afternoon, Canada, South Africa. Canada right now is a minus 139 favorite to win in 90 minutes. A draw is plus 265, and the South Africans are plus 490. Total goals for the game, the over-under is 2, and that's in regulation. Keep in mind that this is now the knockout round, so there is a 30-minute extra time if the teams are tied at the end of 90. So if you're looking at home draw away lines like we have been throughout the group stage, that's for the 90-minute total. If it's a tie, it's a tie. That's the way it's graded. If you do simply want to bet who's going to win, and this would include extra time, this would include penalty kicks, what you're looking for is to qualify. That's the soccer term, or the soccer term, footy term, to make it through. Canada's minus 286, and South Africa is plus 245. Both teams to score in the game plus 114. And let's see, do we have a Canada goal? In Canada goals, regulation only, over 1.5 is plus 101. I do like that. I think we get a couple goals in this game against South Africa, and I definitely think that we win. So let's buckle up. Boston pizzas all around this city are going to be packed for the game. As far as right now goes, I believe it's 3-1 France. At the end of the first half, Norway benched all their starters. And I'll have to look at this again, but this was the match that was for the group. So the winner of this group, let's just get back to here, is going to be the winner of Group I. If we look at the bracket, the winner of Group I is going to play one of the third place teams. Second place in Group I is going to play Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. So it sounds like the Norwegians are very keen on that matchup with Ivory Coast. The French are going to go into a group where they play one of the third place teams, and they could play the Germans in the second round, or I guess in the round of 16. Other matchups we know: USA versus Bosnia-Herzegovina, Netherlands, Morocco, Brazil, Japan. And a key note about the Netherlands-Morocco game is that two great teams. The winner will play the winner of South Africa and Canada. And either Canada or South Africa will probably be a pretty big underdog in that one. Full slate of games available over at CoolBet right now. As far as the draft goes, here's some updated lines, and this will probably be changing throughout the afternoon. But, I mean, it's McKenna, it's Stenberg. Those are basically locked in. Chase Reed is now the pretty big favorite for the third overall pick at minus 238. Caleb Malhotra is plus 180. Malhotra is now minus 120 to go fourth overall, which is quite interesting because of what that's done to the Carson Carroll's numbers. Carroll's is 20-1 to be third or fourth. He's plus 250 to be the fifth overall pick. That, of course, is the Rangers pick, which is a little interesting. We mentioned the sixth overall pick is when Calgary is on the clock. Keaton Verhoff and Carson Carroll's plus 170. Vigo Bjork plus 200, which is nice. Earlier in the week, Vigo Bjork was minus 120. So does that mean that Vigo could be available for us at 8? Keaton Verhoff minus 120 to go seventh to the Kraken. Albert Smits plus 250. Daxon Rudolph plus 290. And Vigo Bjork plus 1,000. And eighth overall, the Jets, Keaton Verhoff plus 130, the UND defenseman. Vigo Bjork 2-1, Albert Smits 4-1, and Malte Gustafsson, who Morreale just mentioned, he is at 5-1. Daxon Rudolph plus 650. Take some time to go through all those. You want to throw a couple darts for the draft? They've got a whole bunch up there. World Cup futures. And we'll finish it off with the CFL tonight. Wow, this line has gone from 4.5. Now it's down to 3.5. Argos and Riders. Saskatchewan minus 3.5 at home, although this is an Argo home game. BC remains 1.5 point favorites over the Stamps. And Montreal is 9-point favorites over the Ottawa Redblacks in the Sunday night game. We've got Jays. We got CEBL as well. Sea Bears in Vancouver on the weekend. They had just absolutely trounced Vancouver by like 30 plus here about a week and a half ago. Plus money on the Seabears, plus 102 in Vancouver. Vancouver minus 135. There are your cool bet lines, everybody. Good luck with your picks in the CFL Pick'em this week. I am 0-1. I got 0 points for my Bomber pick last night. And if you are playing for the first time, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus. Oh, and next poker tourney for the qualifier for our trip to Estonia for the Coolbet Open. Unbelievable trip. Is not this week, but the following Wednesday, July 8th. We are also doing it on July 21st. That's a Tuesday. And the last chance qualifier is the 5th of August. And then the final of everyone that qualifies is the following week. And the trip, of course, is the first week in September. All right, Remo.
Yes.
Let's do some marbles and then get ready for this draft tonight.
I'm fired up, Huss. Big night for the draft. We're not there, but we're watching on TV, like all the GMs, as it is decentralized. Any awkward interviews going to happen right after the guy gets picked and they bring him in and do the Zoom call with the new team? I think they're going to cut that stuff out, hey?
Well, no, they'll talk to guys. It won't be as long and drawn out as it was last year, I don't think. Again, I hate the new format of having everyone away. I mean, from a media perspective, and to be honest, if you're a scout, if you are, work in the front office, like the draft has always been like the hockey convention. Everyone is together. On the media side of things, you make incredible connections. Guys like us that do the show, meet people, have them on throughout the year. But knowing from the scouts and the team personnel was always a huge, huge part of their year. I know they're saving a bunch of money, but this league is making so much money. I think they really lose a lot from it, but hopefully the broadcast will be better tonight. Anyways, let's get this marble race going. It's Friday. It is draft day. I've got my draft hat on. Who's going to get this? I'm hoping Vigo Bjork, but let's fire it up, Remo. A little Tristan Rivers music, the theme song, and then we drop them. Calming yacht rock version of the Marbles theme song. Great choice today, Remo. Very nice outside today. Still can't get over what a beautiful day that was. How much fun was that? The bike ride to the game. I got to shout out the bike valet too. That is an unbelievable service. And I know it's a long line. See if you wait right till the end of the game. But man, they do a great job of clearing those things out first. That highly recommend. Had not done it before. I've been the blue line guy. Taking the transit to the game, which is also a great way to get back and forth depending on where you are in the city. But the bike was that was top notch.
Yeah, riding those paths super easy, and the valet easy. And I'll give the guy the shout out who was grabbing my bike. He got my bike and then ran right back to the front to get the next one. These guys were hustling.
you know what? Overall, we got there so early to do some of the stuff we were doing with Michael and the gang. Seeing all the security guards there before, the event staff all crowding around Tyson and Wayne Gretzky at the end of the game, making sure they were not less than hospitable to the Elks as they left the stadium into the thing at the end of the game. By the way, epic performance. Like, is there been any Bomber fans ever, other than maybe Dancing Gabe, that get more Jumbotron time than Tyson and Gretzky? Gretzky with the big hat, and then both of them mandatory tarps off in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you're referring to the guys they kept showing on the Jumbotron over and over near the end of the game, shirtless in the end zone. I did see Spency in there. Spency's in the chat today. And yeah, every time they come on the screen, we're typing in the Discord, hey, there's Tyson, there's Gretzky in the big hat, Spency on the screen. I feel proud that those guys are part of the WST community and go tarps off at every Bomber game.
It was the ultimate, just that definition of how we operate at WST last night. So we did all this stuff in the first half. Michael, Remo, Connor, Liss went to the press box at halftime. I went out and did a little lap around the refreshment area, as we say, and it was the full cast of characters. Waiters, Isha Boy Bruce, Scott Westman, Penty. I mean, it's like clockwork. And anyways, it was such a great time. Too bad the team didn't win, but we had a great one. But yes, the staff at the stadium, top drawer, but especially those people working the bike valet. They deserve a dap from the WST gang today. And again, thanks again to everyone that popped by and said hi, the folks that we met tailgating beforehand. It certainly was a lot of fun, and appreciate all the kind words about WST. All right, Remo, where are we going?
All right. I did do some track testing as I type this in. Marbles, June 26th. This will be the last marble race of June, as the calendar turns there next week. You tested it out before. Where's my mouse? My mouse is stuck. What's going on? Oh, there we go. Ooh, could have been bad, Huss.
That would have been bad.
Man, a big mouse malfunction. What was the name of the race? It was, I wrote it down because I never remember, Floating Pixelated Cosmos.
Ooh, that does sound intriguing.
It was really good. It was the one with the most plays, made by Jade BC. I don't know if that's their last initials or they're from BC. Either way, thank you, Jade, for putting this excellent track together. I added you in at the end. 195 marbles in the chat.
Thank you. By the way, there's Schnitzy. You got a chance to see Schnitzy last night. Thanks for that sweet lid. The swing on ching on from our guy Sergio. That was awesome. And of course, Schnitzy was on. I got back a little late last night, but I did check out some of Bonfire post game after the fact with Schnitzy and DB. You can check that out. And of course, we got Bomber Report coming up. And I know Connor's in Toronto on the weekend. I think he's coming back later on. So I do think that will go at its normal time. But shout out to Schnitzy. I'm sure Zach, like the rest of us, except for the ESTers here from the Marble Race, probably were on the wrong side of that one last night in the Cool Bet Pick'em contest. All right, Remo, let's do this.
Here we go. I've got all the marbles in to the Floating Pixelated Cosmos.
Perfect. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Space Track.
Yes.
This is a fully baked track right along with those takes you had earlier on today.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Skipping the game to go to Taylor Swift's wedding on order from the commissioner because of its great PR for the CFL. All right.
Once in a lifetime opportunity to go to that wedding.
We've got, and by the way, a huge shout out and thanks to Liz. Liz was with us here, did amazing stuff for us last night. And congratulations to her. I know she's on a big bachelorette weekend with her sister. So it'll be Connor on the weekend on WST Sunday Live. But we digress. It is time for marbles. And then we can get to the World Cup. We can get to the draft tonight and what should be a wild, wild weekend. Hope everyone going to the draft party has a great time tonight. I know the IC guys are going to be there. Say hi to them. But it is marbles time to get this draft day, evening, and weekend going on WST. Okay, here we are into a big funnel. And yes, cannot wait for this game on Sunday. I've been looking at airline flights. I don't think it's going to happen, but man, I would love to be at that game in LA. Who are there? The Real Oil Can. First up, might that be an EST? I'm not familiar with the Real Oil Can. But the Real Oil Can had a great start, much better than everyone else. We've got a bit of a lead right on coming out of the funnel. Everybody chasing the Real Oil Can, but as we know, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Kochi 51, Drew Music, Darth Skater, Richard Ray, Oha Mike, all in the mix right now. But the Real Oil Can with a bit of a lead behind Kochi, but now we get into some areas where there can be some pitfalls. Oil Can gets through first, but he's now got company. Oh, Michelle Street, one of my favorite bartenders. Sorry, Michelle, you're out. First one eliminated today. Oh, Jets Pope. What's up, D? Saw your dad at the game last night. Straight 204 Edge is out as well. But Kochi 51 is now in first, and he's got a bit of a lead. Who's going to be next? All right, we're getting some people shot in here into this next funnel. Kochi's first place, but Adam 1887 had a great transitions there. We got John Pauls, we got Key, we got Mike Thiessen, all hot on the trails of Kochi.
Oh,
whoa!
Ken 007.
Ken 007 just got eliminated, but then he didn't, and he's right there. That was a nice okay, two-man battle in first place by the very lucky Ken 007H. I think that's Ken Hotz.
That is
the most well-traveled WSTer of all time. And Kochi's still in first, though, right now. Grinding through. How is this the end, Reem?
This is it. That's the finish line right there.
Okay, it looks like Kochi's got this one. Kochi is the winner. Nicely done, Kochi. Earl James, John Pauls, 2 and 3. Adam Gordo 4-5, Kelly Menard 6, Schnitzy top 10 performance. How about Schnitzy coming in at 7? Daryl M, Big Bad Mark, and Chris Seymour, the top 10 of today's marble race in the floating pixelated, what's the last word there?
Cosmos, because it's in space.
Cosmos, of course, it is Cosmos. Okay, it looks like we're gonna get Tijuana Pauly, are you gonna make it or are you gonna get burned? You made it through. Nicely done. Kochi, congratulations. Okay, let's go through this list here. We got the top 10. Smurfy and John Ducharme. There's Joanne Boutte, Big Mo, Rob Pepper, 22 Canuck. Dr. Terry, right back from Vancouver. Another strong performance. 20th in today's. There's No Frills Demo. We got Greg M, WSD. Oh, there's Wayne Gretzky. Big hat Gretzky. Nicely done. Let's see. Phyllis, strong for Phyllis and Bridget, both in the top 50. Nicely done. Terminator. Shout out to our friends at Chud's Power Sports. What else do we have here? Eagle Eyes, Darth Skater, Holy Smoly, Duck Dad, Jerry Beluda. What's up, Jerry? Dark Moon. There's Schickster. T. Will MB. T. Will. Strong week in the chat for T. Will. Tristan Rivers Music. I think I might have gotten busted. Oh, I did. You know what? I was so excited to give it to Michelle when she was the first marble eliminated. I think that karma came back and got me because I also did not finish today's race. Remo, this is going to be a busy one. People should pay attention to our social channels. And I mean, listen, if something goes wild, there's always a chance that we'll fire it up. We got Sunday Live. Connor will have a full update of the draft. We've got the Bomber Report on Monday, and we will certainly have a huge show on Monday. But depending on how things go over the next little bit, there's always a chance. And that's why you need to turn your notifications on for the YouTube channel when we go live. But I'm looking forward to tonight. I think there's going to be, first of all, I mean, it's been a bit since the Jets have had a pick this high. So that's exciting on its own. And then you add in all of this smoke around Mr. Hellebuck and the potential of a massive trade. And I know Winnipeg Jet fans and WST are going to be locked into the festivities when things get going at 6 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, I can't wait. We're going to see some new NHL stars enter into the league officially with what teams and maybe some trades. I remember being in the draft in Vegas for the Sergachev trade to Utah. You never know what could happen when Gary Bettman gets up to the podium. You don't know what he's going to say, Huss. And do teams go up and thank the host city and congratulate the Stanley Cup champion? Did they do that every time, or are they telling them, okay, guys, like this is a TV show. Everyone is appreciative to be in Buffalo. You don't need to say that.
I'd like to first say hello to everyone back at Smitty's for our draft party. I'd like to thank the people of Buffalo for the wonderful hospitality this week on behalf of the organization. You can just insert
do you need to do that?
Location of draft party. Well, last year there wasn't as much of that.
They can't have that every time. They got to know. Steve Mayer's got to get in there, tell these gyms, hey, this is a TV show. Everyone is happy to be in Buffalo. Everyone congratulates the Stanley Cup champion. Maybe give a shout out to your fans watching at the draft party. I can shout out to the Jets. The Jets sold out their draft party, and we talked about it. It had some very nice perks for anyone who got a ticket. And I know Illegal Curve will be there broadcasting live on YouTube, so I'll have to tune into their show.
Say what's up to the IC fellas. And yeah, I think Jaeger.
I think Sasha Boumediene is there. Colby Barlow.
Sasha Boumediene coming in, and I guess a bunch of these guys getting in a little early before development camp next week, which of course we'll have Connor, our Jet reporter. And by the way, well, I guess this is more next week would be kind of the end of Connor's first year, but he's done a great job. Connor and Liz have been such a great addition to the team, and looking for more in year 2 for those two. But anyways, folks, have a great night tonight. Stay on top of all of the action and make sure to check out our social channels for more on the picks, the trades, and everything else happening in and around the Jets and the NHL Draft. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors for making WST happen each and every day. And I hope you have a great weekend. I hope the weather's okay. And I hope we're fired up about the Winnipeg Jets on Monday. But I guess that will remain to be seen. Have a great one. Thanks for being with us today. And enjoy the draft weekend. And don't forget, get those tickets at winnipegsportstalk.com if you want to join us Tuesday for the Goldeye game and the patio party. And to finish it all off, go Canada, go. Let's make it to the round of 16 in the World Cup. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.